up, everyone? Welcome back to a new video. If you're new here, my name's Himla and this is the Grow and Glow Fit channel, where we're going to be sharing our meal prep ideas, workouts, and other health tips while on a budget. If you guys want to know where to find the recipe, it will be in the description down below. It will have all the measurements, the calorie count, and the protein intake. So make sure to give that a look whenever you go to try out the recipe. On this week's menu, we're going to have high protein bagels, and for lunch, we're going to be having some chili. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So for the high protein bagels, you're going to need the following ingredients. It's a really easy one to make, so I totally recommend to make this one, and it honestly is delicious. So you're going to need some flour, some baking powder, some salt, some Greek yogurt with 0% fat, and just one egg. Then we're going to need a bowl so that we can mix everything into in a clean counter space. Before we start mixing our ingredients together, we're going to want to go ahead and preheat our oven to 400 degrees so that can be ready whenever we're finished with our bagels. So I'm going to go ahead and start dumping my ingredients in here. So you're going to need 1 cup of flour, 1 cup. And then you're going to use that same cup and you're going to do 1 cup of Greek yogurt. You're then going to do 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Finally, 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Once you have all your ingredients in there, you're going to want to go ahead and fold it in so that everything is nice and mixed. It's going to start eventually looking like a dough-like texture, and that's exactly what we're going to want. You're not going to fully mix everything in this bowl. We're just going to start off here, and then once it starts to look more like a dough, we are going to switch over to our countertop and knead it a little bit more. So you'll see that in a little bit here. Once I get it like almost somewhat incorporated, I like to go ahead and just switch over to my hands. I find it that it becomes a little bit easier to kind of combine everything. So once you kind of have it start looking like it's coming into one big ball, that seems like it would be good enough to go ahead and knead on your counter. You are going to want to put a little bit of flour down on your countertop, and then we're going to add our dough. And then you're going to knead the dough until everything is well mixed. Usually this takes about 2 to 3 minutes. You're going to want to make sure to knead it for a good bit amount of time, so that way your bagels come out good. If the dough starts to stick to your hands, you can just add a little bit of more flour to your hands, and that will help prevent the sticking on your hands there. You can also add a little bit to your countertop as you go. All right, so once your dough is pretty much ready to go, you should get a ball that looks sort of like this. So once we got our ball formed, we're going to take a butter knife and just cut our dough into 4 equal parts. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but try to be as even as possible. So once we have our 4 little parts, we're going to go ahead and just add a little bit of flour to our hands, and we're going to roll out our dough. You're going to want to roll it out till it's about 6 inches long, and then you're going to go ahead and combine it here at the end. And you should end up with a bagel shape like this. So then we're going to go ahead and just repeat the same thing with our other 3 pieces. Once your bagels are all nice and done, you're going to go ahead and place them on a piece of parchment paper. And then we're going to go ahead and take that egg that we had and mix it in a bowl. And we're going to create an egg wash for our bagels. So once your egg wash is ready, you're just going to take a little brush or whatever you have at home and just nicely brush the bagels with the egg. This will help it get that nice golden brown look that bagels typically have. Okay. Once your bagels have their egg wash on them, you can go ahead and add your everything bagel seasoning. This is completely optional if you don't like everything bagels. I personally do, so I'm gonna go ahead and add some to mine, but the bagels are just as good plain. Now that our oven is ready and preheated to 400 degrees, we're gonna go ahead and throw it in for about 18 to 22 minutes. Let's go. This is what your breakfast bagels should look like when they come out of the oven. I put mine in for about 25 minutes. You're gonna wanna let them cool for about 10 minutes before you go ahead and slice into them. They store up to 4 to 5 days in the fridge or 2 months in the freezer. When you go to eat them, you can go ahead and slice it in half and toast it in your toaster or whatever you use to toast up your bagels. I typically like to eat these as a breakfast sandwich, or you can eat them with cream cheese and salmon. It's really up to you how you want to use them, but the bagels alone are really high in protein and super delicious. So make sure you give these a try and enjoy. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and hop right into lunch. So for lunch this week, we are gonna have a high protein chili. So we're gonna wanna start off with our pan on medium heat, add some spray oil. We're gonna add in some green onions, but the white part. I throw that right in there. And then we're gonna add in a whole minced garlic clove and a little bit of diced jalapeno. You want to add as much as you'd like. If you don't like spicy stuff, I would recommend just not doing any jalapeno. Once you get that in there, we're going to saute it and we're going to add a little bit of salt to our veggies here. So you're going to want to stir this around occasionally. And you're going to let this sit for about 5 to 7 minutes until the green onions and everything in here is nice and soft. All right, our veggies are nice and softened. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of our spray oil in here and then add our ground turkey. I'm using the remainder of the ground turkey that I used from last week. If you guys haven't already looked at that video, make sure to give that a view. It's super tasty recipes that week. I stayed full all day and it made my stomach feel good all week. All right, so we're gonna wanna cook this down and brown it. Since we have our turkey in here, we're also gonna go ahead and just add our seasonings in. So you can start off with about a teaspoon of seasoning of whatever you like to use. I'm gonna be using some paprika. And if some falls in there, honestly, no harm, no foul. It'll just be a little bit more flavor. Ground cayenne pepper, some chili powder, some black pepper, some oregano, and some salt. You can also make your life easy and just use like a packet of chili seasoning that they sell at the store. I'm gonna just add these seasonings in. I also have one of those packets, so depending on how I feel the meat taste, I might add a little bit of that seasoning, but for now I'm gonna stick with this. I'm gonna mix it around. So now that my meat is done and browned, I'm gonna just turn my heat down just a tad bit to about low to medium heat. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add my diced tomatoes. And then I'm gonna add my other veggies as well. So I have half of a red pepper and half of a green pepper. Then I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of some tomato paste. I'm also gonna go ahead and add in a tablespoon of our Tex-Mex paste. I made this homemade. If you guys would like to see the recipe for this Tex-Mex paste, just let me know. I will make a short or a video for you guys, just letting you know how to do it. So now that we have all that in there, we're gonna give it a good stir and we're gonna let that sit for about 1 to 2 minutes. And I know that it looks like I have a lot of meat in here. I did double up the recipe, so it's gonna look like a little bit more than maybe what it would look like if you made yours at home. But don't worry, I'm gonna put the recipe down in the description for just one person, so you won't have to worry about figuring it out here throughout the video. All right, so then you're gonna go ahead and add your drained kidney beans. You can also use black beans, but I am going to use kidney beans as they're a little bit lower in calorie. I'm gonna add 2 cans of kidney beans. I'm gonna add some chicken bouillon, and then I'm gonna add some water. And if you think you need a little bit more water, you're welcome to add that in there. Should look something like that. And then you're gonna go ahead and add a little bit of salt and pepper in there as well. So then you're gonna want to bring your chili to about a simmer and let that sit for about 10 to 15 minutes or until you get a thickened consistency. To help the chili get a little bit thick, I made a little slurry mixture here. It's just a little bit of all-purpose flour mixed with some water. So I'm going to add that in. If you feel like you need to add a little bit more, you're more than welcome to. I recommend just adding in a little bit at a time. Start off with about a tablespoon and then work your way up from there. Honestly, the longer you can let your chili sit, the better. If you have the time, you can let it sit. If you don't want to wait it out, just add a little bit of slurry of your flour slurry or your cornstarch slurry if you have cornstarch at home, and add that in. That'll help thicken up your chili. Let it sit for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then you can take it off the stove. All right, so this should be about what the consistency of your chili looks like. So per serving, it's going to be about a cup and a half for this recipe. So I'm going to go ahead and just make my bowl. And you can garnish your bowl however you like. I'm going to add a couple of scallions on top of mine. Also going to add a couple of jalapenos in there. And then if you have some sour cream, you can go ahead and add your sour cream. If you don't like sour cream, sometimes I like to add a little bit of Greek yogurt in there. Honestly, it's pretty much the same thing, but Greek yogurt is just healthier and higher in protein, so you really can't go wrong with it. But this should be what your finished product looks like. And then you can serve it with a side of like a lime wedge. And that's going to be what our lunch meal looks like for this week. And that's a wrap for this week's meal prep. I hope that this helps you stay on track and make healthy eating easier. It's all about eating the good foods that you love while still staying within your fitness goals. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like the video, and turn your notification post on so that you can be notified every time that I upload. Remember to keep fueling your body, stay consistent, and let's grow stronger, glow brighter, and get fit. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.